We're at a point today where even if your side won, can you really be happy today? Can you really be like calm and like peaceful and tranquil? We have,
Bro,
okay,
I tell you
everything
what,
is
I
just,
would tell you there are people there's people now who literally feel, and I don't know how simplistic this is, literally feel like, okay, that's it. We killed the bad guy, like a Hollywood movie. Like bad guy's gone, here we go, smooth sailing. Yes, so to answer your question is,
yeah.
yeah, I think there are people who actually
hmm
think that okay, we eradicated evil, now we can get back to sanity.
but when was there sanity? Was there sanity 4 years ago? Was there sanity before
You're
that?
trying to
So
convince me?
no,
I agree with you.
I'm trying to understand the profile of the person that you're describing to me. Like I do get that there are people who were on one side of the equation and people on the other side, and the people whose side won, now they're kind of like they kind of won the war kind of thing. But I'm saying, can you really be happy? Even the people from the side who won, so to speak, can they really be just calm about where the future is going? You're saying yes.
So it's my kind of my aunt, my cousin. Her parents were her dad survived the Holocaust, had the tattoos and everything. He was in the
Right.
camps and all that stuff. Okay, she's really sensitive about like Nazi stuff. Okay, if her perception is that Trump is pro uh,
Right.
anti-Semite, pro whatever, then yeah, she feels that defeating Trump is defeating evil, and now we got our country back.
I'll tell you what I think. Maybe I am spiritually optimistic, too overly spiritually optimistic, but I think that there's a group of people on both sides that are very, very loud. And they are, not seeing anything besides waging war with the other side. And then you have more people that are not as active, but they're also very, very belligerent, let's say, in their attitude towards the other side. But I think that in the middle, you have a lot of people that are still they still subscribe to one side or the other, but they're looking at everything that's happening and they're thinking. I think that what's happening what's happening today is that we're going through a very deep self-social scrutiny. You know what I mean? The events that are happening, it's not like, and especially with this whole media frenzy, this craziness that you don't really know if what you're being told is real, and what kind of incentive, what kind of vested interest, what kind of agendas are actually driving the stories that you're reading about and seeing and everything. I do think that a big amount of people are watching their TVs, are turning on their scrolling their feeds, and they're thinking. They don't know exactly what to do about it, but I think that there is a lot of scrutiny that is happening. Maybe it's not as conscious. Maybe it's not as conscious, but I think that something is going on. I don't think that the majority of people are, that's it. They're either left and or they're right, and they think they lost or they think they won, and now they have to either keep fighting, or they now it's everything's going to be okay because their guy won. There is a general vortex, sort of influence that we are all surrounded by.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just This isn't just one incident of very strange and alarming violence that we saw in the last 24 hours. We just came from a year of a global pandemic that has completely entered the environmental field of influence that we are all surrounded by. We have went through a year of huge rise in social and political polarization that have swept our minds, and we are swimming in this vortex. What the stuff that's happening to us today with the media and with politics and with the pandemic and with the economic situation, all of that is putting us, think of like being in a vortex. Doesn't matter what happens, you're confused. You see stuff, but you keep swirling and swirling around. That's how I feel that all of humanity Like that's how I feel most people feel today. That's kind of my take on it.
You're telling me about this group of people that's not left and not
So
right.
I think that the more I think that if you're not uh, anywhere on the extremes, you feel the vortex more than those on the extremes. That's what I think. I think that if you're not, it's hard. The less you are, an avid extreme, the less fanatic you are. I'll just say it bluntly. The less fanatic you are, the more you have room for thinking, the more you have capacity in your mind and in your heart to contemplate what is going on to you, to others, to everything.
If you're not really holding on to something that you are fighting for, then you're super confused. Like
Yeah.
the kind of remedy for being confused is to just grab some banner and charge forward. So as long as we think that, oh, my side's gonna win and we're gonna get you and we're gonna defeat it, as long as the solution comes from eradicating someone else, or then nature's still got to work on us hard.
So the child that is the humanity of today needs a vision of what it means to be an adult. Here's the thing. Again, we need to see the global picture of what is happening. It's not just the social division, the political division, and that violent incident. We are going into a vortex again, or a labor pains, if you want to put it that way. Nature is putting humanity into a process of birth. And you have to be pressured in that process. Because you have to go through a very tight birth canal. And so it's only natural that we're beginning to feel pressed. The thing
Mm-hmm.
is that it's only natural that we're beginning to feel pressed and that we don't recognize where we're going. If you put yourself in the body of the baby that has just kind of developed its organs, it's still very fragile, it's very small, its brain is not fully is not fully developed, and its senses are not really functioning. And now in that state, and it needs to be that state, in that state it has to go into a completely new world, a completely new world. This is sort of what we're going into. We're just getting into, let's say, from 2020 with this global pandemic. We're going into a point where we're gonna see that our old institutions are not working. This whole
Mm-hmm.
idea of having this constant political struggle between left and right, and now you win, now I win, now I'll rule you, and now you will rule me. You will oppress me, and now I'll oppress you. This whole thing, we're gonna see that it's no longer working, and the only thing that can come from an increase of that and a continuation of that is violence. So we're reaching a roadblock, a gridlock, a dead end. We cannot solve society, to solve this social conundrum, to live with each other in peace with the kind of the current kind of
But watch how clever.
establishments that we
Watch how
have.
nature work. But watch how nature works on it though, because my dad's really into boating. He's got this thing, like he worked really hard his whole life, and now he's like he
Mm,
got into this thing of boats. He wants to have a boat, right?
okay.
My kids want to order chicken or pizza and like play video games.
Right.
Like it's just the two generations are so different. The younger generation, they don't care. All those things are losing their flavor. Like, I want to take over the world. I want to, go. I want to. All of those big kind of visions that worked for the last ever are kind of losing their flavor.
It's all part of the great transition. This is you cannot we're in a process that is inevitable. We cannot escape it. And the big part the stage of it that we're entering now, if you ask me, is confusion and uncertainty, and becoming helpless of trying to fix the current situation. I think that has to dawn on us in some way.
and then
In some,
and
and
then
then we have to,
despair.
And then we have to recognize that we can build a whole new thing. We can build an amazing world if we rebuild ourselves as well, if we need to be reborn in a way. Again, back to the the labor pains metaphor. So you don't see where you're going. You do not know where you're going. You're going into the world. You're going to have a whole new life, but you don't know it as a baby. All that you know is that the walls are closing in on you. And the place that you grew up in for 9 months, the place that you were used to, the place that fed you and that you were nourished by, now becomes narrow. It's strangling you. It's becoming very, very stressful. And and ahead of you, uncertainty, vagueness. This is required for a new level of life to emerge. That's what we're dealing with here. What the US, what's happening right now in the US is a mini model and a prediction of what may happen and will happen if everything goes exactly the way it is without any positive intervention. We can talk about that too. But what we're seeing in the US is a mini model of the future of all of humanity, all of the Western world, at least.